Hey everyone, and welcome back to another news alert. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and thank you so much for tuning into Boyd News. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more updates like this. And feel free to support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links are in the description below the video. All right, good morning, everyone, and I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas day with your friends and family yesterday. Please let us know down in the comments how your Christmas went. Hopefully, you all enjoyed some good food and relaxation while giving thanks to health, life, and sharing good memories with those we love. So, lots of big news coming out from this war with Russia and Ukraine today. We'll start off with very big news out of Ukraine's eastern front, as yet again another counterattack has been reported for the Ukrainian military, and we are hearing so far it has been very successful. Let's check out this new update on your screen. It says Ukraine launches new counterattack near Pokrovsk. The Ukrainian army has launched a counterattack north of Pokrovsk and have retaken several settlements north of Rodinsky. They have also retaken large parts of Rodinsky itself. Okay, so if you take a look at this map, you can see here on your screen, you can see Rodinsky on the central bottom side of your screen. Just north of that, that green shaded area is going to be multiple settlements that the Ukrainian forces have retaken. These are areas that were controlled by the Russians. And we're going to talk more about this area because we've talked about Pokrovsk a lot in the past. I think it was just a few weeks ago the Russians were claiming control of Pokrovsk. That's going to be down on the southeastern side of Ukraine in the Donetsk Oblast. The Russians claimed they had control of it. Ukraine refuted those claims, said they were still counterattacking in those areas. This is a major logistical hub for the Ukrainians, major transport and rail hub city Pokrovsk. And just north of that, here near Rodinsky, is where Ukraine is counterattacking. I'm going to show you guys a map here in just a little bit. I think I have an idea of what Ukraine is trying to do attacking in this area, okay? So they are trying to force the Russians back around Pokrovsk today, and this was being announced as of yesterday. Apparently very successful counterattacks once again. So we'll talk more about this in just a minute. I'll pull up in a better map to show you guys. So other top headline news, it has been reported today that Ukraine has basically liberated the city of Kupiansk and the Kharkiv Oblast. Few Russian soldiers remain there, if any, and some Russian mill bloggers are complaining on Telegram that Russian forces are having a very hard time stopping Ukraine's counterattack in the city due to weather and other logistical issues. Also, big news, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced a meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump coming up this weekend. He also mentioned very good progress on the peace proposal process. Aside from this news, we will discuss some attacks inside Russia by Ukrainian drones last night, along with massive drone and missile strikes being reported in Ukraine today. Many innocent civilians have lost their lives and have been harmed due to Russian attacks today. All this and a lot more to share with you. Let's go ahead and dive right into the news, guys. We'll hop on over here to X with ViceGrad24. It says, breaking, the Ukrainian army has launched a counterattack north of Pokrovsk and have retaken Suketsk, Sarov, and the Krasno-Lymanskaya mine north of Rodinsky. Hopefully I'm pronouncing those names right. They have also retaken large parts of Rodinsky itself. Okay, so here's another little map to show you guys what's going on here. So here's Pokrovsk down here. We know the Russians do control a large portion of the city, and Ukraine's been claiming that the northern side up here of Pokrovsk, they still control. Still heavy fighting ongoing over there. But north over here, and pay attention to this road because I'm going to show you this in just a moment. Rodinsky's right here, and just north of that is where we have Ukraine carrying out these counterattacks and also into the city of Rodinsky itself to retake a lot of these areas. And we're going to talk about logistical supply lines because I think Ukraine's trying to keep this road open right here. So I've got another map from Deep State that I pulled up. This will show you guys a little bit better, give you a better understanding of what's going on over here visually. So we're going to talk about this area of Myrnorad and Pokrovsk. Okay, we zoom into the Donetsk Oblast right here, by the way, okay? So let's zoom in. Here's Pokrovsk right here, and here's Myrnorad, okay? So Pokrovsk, here's the city, and as you can see, the northern side of the city is still, for the most part, open. As far as we know, Ukraine is still counterattacking in these areas, and just north of that is what we're going to talk about. So here's Rodinsky right here, and here's Sarov, Suketsk, okay? So this entire area has been liberated by Ukraine. And if we pay attention to this road right here, we've talked about this road before. It runs all the way into this highway that connects Myrnorad and Pokrovsk. And when you follow it north, it goes right by Rodinsky and then continues up north all the way over here near Dobropilya. Okay, and I think what Ukraine is trying to do is keep this supply line open. Okay, this is a major logistical route Aside from this highway right here, which is probably under constant attack by the Russians, considering that the Russians are inside the city, this is one of the few logistical routes right here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but there's a highway that runs right here next to Rodinsky. So I think Ukraine's trying to push the Russians back in this area so that way they can keep this logistical supply line open and keep fueling the Ukrainian forces that are still fighting over here inside of Murderrat and Pokrovsk. We've seen Ukraine carry out multiple counterattacks in this area. If you guys remember this one right here a couple months back, the Russians broke through all the way to Khrushchev Yar, I think all the way as far as Kolodiaz, if I'm saying that's right, and they call this the Dobropilia direction. If you guys have heard me mention that before, the Russians broke through here. They created like some crab claw wedges that busted through this area. Ukraine counterattacked and have liberated this entire section. So if you can see what they're doing, they're really trying to keep these supply lines open to Murderrat and Pokrovsk so that way they don't fall. But we do know right now, obviously, things are very tense in this area. So far, we're hearing lots of new counterattacks in these areas as Ukraine's trying to keep logistical supply lines open. Okay, so let's keep moving now. Vicegrad 24 breaking. The Ukrainian army has taken Kupiansk, excuse me. Here's a new map coming out showing pretty much Kupiansk completely liberated. I mean, look at this, guys. We know that the northwestern portion of the city up here was attacked just about a week to a week and a half ago, and Ukraine essentially has pushed the Russians out. There's really no red here remaining in this area. I did check over on Deep State. They apparently have not updated their map yet. It's still showing some pockets of red inside Kupiansk, which could be correct. I'm sure there are still some Russians fighting over there. A lot of them could be already starting to be eliminated and possibly even being captured. But for the most part, what we're hearing is a good majority of this city is already retaken in the Kharkiv region of Ukraine. And we've been talking a lot about Kupiansk recently, so that's great to hear. Here's another update now, Max 25. Several companies of our assault troops were trapped. Disturbing news for the occupiers from Kupiansk, which Putin completely captured a month ago. Take a look at this from Alex Parker Returns. It's going to be a Russian mill blogger. It says Kupiansk is currently experiencing heavy snowfall and freezing temperatures. The weather is hindering the intensive use of drones. Considering that the crests are advancing there, General Frost is playing on the Ukrainian side this time. Contact with the remnants of our garrison in Kupiansk have been completely lost. Several companies of our assault aircraft are trapped in a cauldron. So yeah, apparently a lot of troops are trapped over there. The weather's probably bogging everybody down. They can't really move. Logistical supplies are probably difficult to get in. Drone usage is going to be difficult as well for the Russians to use to stop Ukraine's counterattack. And we continue to hear every day Ukraine's doing a very good job of retaking the city of Kupiansk. So there's another update from Russian mill bloggers right there. Now you're getting on it. Zelensky will meet with Trump soon. The president himself announced this after a speech by National Security and Defense Council Secretary Rustem Umerov. He says, quote, "We're not wasting a day. We've reached an agreement for a high-level meeting with President Trump very soon. Many things could be decided by the new year," Zelensky said. This was according to Ukraine Now. I believe that's a Ukrainian news outlet. So yeah, what we're hearing is by this weekend, Zelensky and Trump are going to be meeting. I think Zelensky's going to go to Mar-a-Lago, Trump's residence over there in Florida, to meet directly with him. And here's that other update. Clash report, Zelensky says this Sunday in Florida, "I will have a meeting with Trump. The 20-point peace plan has been agreed upon by 90%. Okay, so as far as I know, what they're really going to be working out this weekend is most likely security guarantees and getting those secured for Ukraine. Aside from that, possibly territorial issues, okay? Territorial concerns, exchanges with Russia. They'll be working that out, Ukrainian side with Trump and the Trump administration. So we'll have to see what's going to happen. So this Sunday, we'll have more information. And obviously by Monday, I'll be reporting all this to you guys and give you the latest details. So expect a lot of news regarding the peace proposal process starting next week. Here's another update, Max 25. Zelensky emphasized that although he is ready to sign certain agreements, the main 20-point plan requires the consent of all four parties, Ukraine, U.S., Europe, and Russia. Without the participation of Russia and the Europeans, such a document cannot be signed. The issue of the referendum and elections is included in the 20-point plan. Okay, so talking about multiple things here regarding this 20-point peace plan. Referendum and elections. Apparently that's included in this peace proposal. We know that a referendum could be possibly held in the Donetsk Oblast and in the actual citizens of Ukraine could be voting on whether to turn that into a demilitarized zone or not. We'll have to see how that's going to go. But obviously, talking about elections, we've been discussing that a lot recently. But he also mentions here that apparently it's going to require consent of all parties, Ukraine, US, Europe, and Russia, to agree to a 20-point peace plan for this war to come to an end. So I'm curious to see how things are going to play out and how things will move forward with this peace proposal process. Now, Savchenko Volodymyr, check this one out from Axios. Russia agrees to a ceasefire pending on a peace agreement, allowing Ukraine to hold a referendum on the territories. Witkoff and Kushner held two separate conversations yesterday, one with Ukrainian and one with Russian representatives. Ushakov represented the Russian side in negotiations. According to officials from both countries, most of the parameters of the deal have already been agreed upon between the U.S. and Ukraine, including security guarantees that Kyiv must receive from the U.S. and Europe. Senior U.S. official confirmed that the U.S. is prepared to send the security guarantees document based on Article 5 of the NATO Charter to the Senate for ratification. The main stumbling block remains Russia's demand for control over the entire territory of Donbas as part of any agreement. Furthermore, according to Axios, the U.S. side supports the idea of a ceasefire to approve the deal, but emphasized that this will be logistically difficult to implement. According to the source, the Russians who had previously opposed the ceasefire before the final agreement was signed have agreed to a ceasefire to allow for the referendum. While Ukraine insists on a 60-day ceasefire, Russia may seek a shorter period. Here's a report: Trump and Zelensky to meet Sunday to try and close out the peace plan. So this report talking about obviously Zelensky and Trump going to meet, but also mentioning that apparently, according to this report, the Russians are open to agreeing to a partial ceasefire, at least for a temporary one, to allow Ukraine to hold a referendum in the Donetsk Oblast to decide whether to create that into a demilitarized zone or not, or to hand it over to Russia, or whatever it might be. Apparently, Russia is open to that. We've never really seen Russia being open to a ceasefire other than for maybe a couple days, which was never actually a real ceasefire. There were still attacks being recorded along the front line. But apparently, Russia is open to that, according to Axios. So that could be very interesting. I mean, we see that clearly Zelensky is paving the way to allow this referendum. He said it numerous times. If we're going to, give up the Donetsk Oblast to Russia, or obviously create this demilitarized zone or free economic zone that the Trump administration calls it, and Ukraine would withdraw from that area, he actually wants the Ukrainians to decide that, not himself, which I think is right for the Ukrainian people to do that. But looks like the Russians could be open to a ceasefire to allow that to happen. I thought that was very interesting. We'll see if that will be the case or not. Now, from next to 4 countries ready to send peacekeepers to Ukraine. Ukraine's presidential advisor, Mikhailo Podolyak, says France, Germany, Turkey, and the United Kingdom are prepared to deploy peacekeeping forces to Ukraine after the war ends. According to him, lasting peace is impossible without international partners, and the war itself is forcing Europe into a hard reset. The EU will have to drop its illusions and become more militarized if it wants to survive in the new reality. Turkey has already set 3 conditions for sending its troops: a full ceasefire, clear goals and powers for the mission, and a division of responsibilities between participating countries. Without that, Ankara stresses nothing will happen. Earlier, Russia's foreign ministry dismissed EU's peacekeeping plans as fantasies, while Putin warned that any foreign military presence in Ukraine would become a legitimate target for destruction. Okay, so apparently we've got some countries that are open to sending their troops into Ukraine to secure their sovereignty as a peacekeeping force if this war comes to an end. So we've got France, Germany, Turkey, and the United Kingdom all being willing to send their troops. I think it's interesting that Turkey's willing to do that. Looks like apparently they're willing to jump on board, but we have heard France, Germany, and the UK were willing to do that. I think France was kind of going back and forth, but apparently they are open to it. So let me know what you guys think. Are we going to see NATO forces inside of Ukraine? Okay, many of these European nations sending their troops over there. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case, but apparently they are open to that. Now, no reports. Russian outlet Kommersant claims that U.S. discussed using the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant for crypto mining and joint control without Ukraine, allegedly with Putin's knowledge. If true, it fits Trump's playbook perfectly. Profit over principles, deals over sovereignty, money made on anyone's back, morals do not apply. Yeah, this was a pretty crazy report breaking yesterday, actually on Christmas. According to this outlet, Kommersant, this is directly out of Russia. Excuse me. So Apparently, this could have been coming from Vladimir Putin himself. Actually, this information that what we're hearing is the U.S. administration is open to doing some sort of joint deal directly with Russia with the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, not involving Ukraine. So I wonder if Ukraine is even going to get any electricity from this plant when this war comes to an end. We've been hearing recently that it could be split like 50-50 between Ukraine and Russia. The U.S. could possibly take over. But according to Kommersant, the Russians could be trying to do a deal with the U.S. behind Ukraine's back. And we'll have to see if that's going to be the case there. Now, Clash report, Putin told business leaders Russia could consider limited territorial swaps in Ukraine, but insists on full control of the Donbas region. Source was also Kommersant, directly out of Russia. So here's another one. Apparently, Putin said that he's going to consider limited territorial swaps with Ukraine, but apparently still wants full control of the Donbas. So what we're hearing is he could be open to giving up certain territories that that Russia's controlling inside of Ukraine, smaller pieces of land, but still not willing to back down on the demands of holding on to the Donbas. So there's an update there. Now, drone bomber, approximate flight routes of our UAVs. The red arrow indicates the directions of strike UAVs. All information is about the routes is taken from Russia's sources. Excuse me. So here's the map coming out showing drones going into Russia overnight. Okay, so mostly what we're hearing, the only reports I really have is the Volgograd Oblast right here. So you can see a lot of drones were heading that direction, and allegedly the Volgograd oil refinery came under attack, could have been hit. We had a fire that broke out in the area of the plant. Still waiting for confirmation. I'm not sure if it was directly hit yet, but we do have details on that. Aside from that, you can see drones heading on down here towards the Kerch Bridge and the Krasnodar region, and then some heading up over to Tambov, Penza, Saratov regions as well, and also crossing through the Voronezh Oblast and Belgorod Oblast. Okay, so moving on to another update now. XL Nova Plus, Volgograd, the situation in the area of the oil refinery. So here's one of the few videos coming out allegedly showing a fire very close to the Volgograd oil refinery. Now, again, I don't know if it was directly hit, but it looks like highly likely it was based on this video. When we see videos like this of this constant burning, that's usually coming from oil refineries. But again, still waiting for more details on confirmation of those strikes. But we know a lot of drones were in the direction of the Volgograd oil refinery last night. Now, NOAA reports explosions were reported on December 24th at a military base in Usursk. If I'm saying that right, near the borders with North Korea and China, 2 blasts hit the parking area of the 80th Vitebsk Red Banner Brigade. Emergency services and the FSB were deployed to the site. So yeah, this was coming out day before Christmas, on Christmas Eve. This video is just being released today, though, widely on social media. And apparently we had some sort of explosion at a military base in Russia's Far East. Now, we've seen this before. Ukraine has carried out sabotage operations in Russia's Far East at military bases. I think we had one base, it was like a nuclear sub-base that suffered a major explosion. This case, another base connected to the Russian military seeing some sort of explosion on Christmas Eve. So not sure exactly what happened over here, but we can see somebody driving along. We've got Russia's FSB, their security service here, showing up on site, and police officers to investigate the situation. Not really sure what happened from this just yet, but if I get some updates on that or details, I'll let you guys know at a later time. Now, Max 25, another former deputy of Shoigu, Colonel General Yuri Sadovenko, died suddenly in Russia. He was only 56 years old. They say he had heart problems. Shoigu's other former deputies were jailed for corruption and the utter plunder of the Russian army after his resignation. All right, so we've got another deputy of Sergei Shoigu. Sergei Shoigu is the former defense minister of Russia, a huge ally to Putin as well. So apparently one of his deputies have died, is what's being claimed, due to some sort of heart attack or heart issues that he had. So some people are speculating that he was actually killed. That as we can see here, many former deputies were jailed for corruption, some of them just disappearing in the past. So was this man actually killed? Was he thrown outside of a window? We don't really know yet, but we do see a lot of that. A lot of top, officials connected to the defense ministry that end up getting thrown out of windows and things like that. So crazy what happened here. Another report of a death of a former deputy in the defense ministry. Now from Raging 545, satellite imagery of the port of Temryuk in Krasnodar shows fire still burning after it was hit by drones yesterday. NASA firms at the same time shows a large heat signature at that location this morning. So I'm going to show you guys a few reports. I've got like three of them regarding strikes yesterday. Ukraine made some huge hits. The port of Temeryuk came under attack here once again. You can see the huge fire coming from that facility. I think we had some oil storage tanks that were hit. Here's NASA firms maps showing this fire indicated on satellite imagery as well. So yeah, this was taking place yesterday, this port of Temeryuk. It got hit hard just a couple weeks back. If you guys remember, Ukraine struck it very, very hard with multiple drones. Huge fires were recorded, and Ukraine went ahead and blew it up again. This is a major port and oil infrastructure for Russia that got attacked here last night. Okay, so now moving on to another one, Visegrad 24. Breaking: Ukrainian long-range drones have struck the Orenburg gas processing plant in Russia. It was one of the world's largest gas chemical complexes and played a key role in Russia's gas industry. Allegedly, a photo coming out from the Orenburg gas processing plant in Russia in the Orenburg region. This is like south-central Russia, okay? This also came under attack. I think it was just over the last week, Ukraine had attacked it again. There was no pictures or anything like that coming out at the time, but allegedly it came under attack yesterday on Christmas. This was a picture coming out showing a lot of smoke coming from the facility. Now, Special Kursin Kat, General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, reports that Novoshakhtinsk oil refinery was hit with Storm Shadow missiles. All right, so here's new video coming out from the Novoshakhtinsk oil refinery located in the Rostov Oblast. This place came under attack yesterday from anywhere from 6 to 10 Storm Shadow missiles that are provided by the British. Okay, this is huge news. This place got blown to heck. I mean, look at this. Look at the massive fires. Two major fires coming from this plant and got leveled by missiles yesterday by Ukrainian forces. So Ukraine's been carrying out a lot of missile attacks recently, if you guys have been noticing. We'll talk about that more in just a minute. I've got a couple reports of more missiles going into Russia today. But real quick, let's talk about a few posts regarding attacks inside of Ukraine and people losing their lives. Here's Anton Yeroshenko. Russia attacked Ukraine's port and rail infrastructure, as well as its energy facilities throughout the night. Russia's used drones to attack ports in the Odessa region, grain elevators, warehouses of civilian enterprises, a barge, and ships flying the flags of Slovakia and the Republic of Palau were damaged. A port terminal in the Mykolaiv region was also hit by Russian drones. A ship flying the Liberian flag was damaged. Fortunately, there were no casualties. Infrastructure belonging to the Lviv railways was attacked by drones at the Kovel station. A locomotive and a freight car were damaged, and the blast blew out the windows and the locomotive depot workshop. Yeah, there was quite a few drones. I think somewhere around 100 going into Ukraine overnight. Here's a fire right here that broke out. A lot of these strikes hit to their targets. We had a lot of destruction being reported here. Looks like some oil infrastructure was hit there. Looks like a drone slammed into some object. Could be possibly connected to an electrical substation or something. We had a lot of energy sites being attacked here. Here's a port terminal that came under attack and a boat that took some damage. Lots of different boats being reported and cargo ships that are connected with Ukraine being attacked overnight by drones. Here's another one from Bliskovka. The enemy is trying to bypass Ukrainian air defense through the territory of Belarus, says Zelensky after the drone attacks on Kovel. In particular, on the railway, a separate meeting was held at the military headquarters regarding the Shaheeds, their movement routes, and countermeasures. This is a serious issue. The answers will be determined at the next military headquarters, the president emphasized. Here's what he's talking about. Take a look at this map from War Translated. It says Russia struck Kovel railway station on the Lviv railway line. Energy infrastructure is under main attack, Vice Prime Minister Kuleba said. Explosions continue in Kovel since this morning. All right, so up here in the northwestern side of Ukraine on Kovel, I think this is going to be in this region right here. There was Russian drones that were traveling through Belarus and directly into Ukraine. And the reason why the Russians were using Belarusian airspace is to avoid a lot of Ukraine's air defenses in these regions, especially up near Kyiv. We know there's a lot of air defense systems in that area. So the Russians apparently are using Belarus more often now to attack Western regions instead of just crossing directly through Ukraine. They're using Belarus as a safe space, so that way these things don't get shot down and they can avoid a lot of these air defense systems in these areas and then strike their targets. So that's where this Kovel railway station came under attack. We had energy sites being hit over there. So what's Ukraine going to do? If the Belarusians are allowing Russia to use their airspace, then I think Ukraine's gonna create some sort of attack or something onto Belarus. What's going to happen? What type of response are they preparing onto Belarus? We'll have to see what's going to happen here in the coming days. But Zelensky did say they are preparing a response to that. Now, no reports. Russian forces carried out a daytime missile strike on Uman. I don't know if it's Uman or Uman in Cherkasy region. This is in central Ukraine. 6 civilians were injured, including 2 children. Local authorities report damage to residential infrastructure. Emergency services are working at the scene. So yeah, reports of missile attacks. I know we had at least 1 ballistic missile that was fired into Ukraine. This could be what struck here in Uman, the Cherkasy region. Take a look.
Отакий пиздець. Отакий пиздець у нас в Умані, блядь. Ні, це понятно, я кажу, в нас.
Скажи мені, пожалуйста, як це так, прекрасний...
Отакий пиздець.
All right, so after judging the looks of this video, does this look like a military target to you guys, or does this look like a small peaceful town that got hit by a missile inside of Ukraine? Again, this is the town of Uman or Uman. I'm not sure how to pronounce that exactly, but in Cherkasy region, central Ukraine, just a little bit south of Kyiv, taking a hit from missiles today. Absolutely horrific. Here's another one from Heyman 101. In Odessa's western region along the border of Romania, 20-plus Russian ground drones struck the town of Ismail. That's a port city. The target was reportedly energy infrastructure. Okay, so we've got this video also showing a huge blaze over here, energy infrastructure coming under attack. We also had reports of drones crossing through Moldova as they were attacking this area. This is right on the border of Romania, and Romania also having to dispatch fighter jets to try to intercept some of these drones that were heading for the Romanian border. I'm not sure if there were any drones that crossed into Romania, but they did raise fighter jets to try to intercept them. Here's that update from Moldova, MAX 25, Russian drone over Moldova, according to monitoring channels. So at least 1 drone did cross into Moldova overnight, heading for the Romanian border, as I mentioned. This was a picture coming out showing this thing flying into Moldovan airspace overnight, once again violating more countries' airspace. Here's another update, United 24 Media, Russia struck Kharkiv and its suburbs, hitting a major city highway and setting cars with people inside on fire. At least 2 people were killed and several injured, including a 9-month-old girl, local authorities report. So there was multiple reports coming out last night of missiles heading for Kharkiv. I think the Russians were firing anywhere between 5 and 10, maybe more caliber cruise missiles from the Black Sea, from their Navy directly targeting Kharkiv. We heard reports coming out from Kharkiv last night on that. And then also this being reported today, just a few hours ago at the time that I record this, the Russians were launching multiple glide bombs on a very busy street inside of Kharkiv, striking multiple vehicles, and people were burning inside of the cars, guys. This is just absolutely horrible to have to report this, and I'm not really sure what to say when I hear things like this, but yet again, just more terror being caused onto the people of Ukraine. And it says here, including a 9-month-old girl that could have been killed or injured here in these attacks. So sad. Here's a picture now. Maria Avdiva. Russia just hit a busy road in Kharkiv with a guided bomb. Cars are burning. People were inside. 1 killed. This is open terror against civilians. I have to agree with that, guys. Look at this car taking this huge damage. Apparently, a very busy road inside of Kharkiv gets slammed by Russian glide bombs. And I heard reports of multiple glide bombs that were used to attack this roadway. So, I mean, again, what is this as well? Is this the Ukrainian military being targeted? No, it looks like to me like purely civilians being hit in these glide bomb attacks. Why would Russia be dropping these bombs in a major city like that? They're clearly trying to destroy civilian life, as we can see from this photo. So very sad to hear many people losing their lives today. Now, MAX 25, here's another attack going into Russia. This was reported just about 6 hours ago. And another update on top of the other one that we had earlier showing drones going into Russia. So it says here, red arrow indicates directions of movement of attack UAVs. Green arrow indicates directions of movement of cruise missiles. Okay, so huge attack onto the Krasnodar Krai and Crimea. Occupied Crimea of Ukraine. You can see a lot of these cruise missiles going through Crimea and also around it over here to the Krasnodar region. So I'm not sure what Ukraine's going after over here. We'll have to wait for more details, but this looks like a new attack earlier this morning, at least in my time, around 3:30 a.m. So this would have been during the day over there inside of Russia and Ukraine when Ukraine carried out this attack. We'll wait for more details. If I get some updates, I'll let you guys know. Now, Evgen Istrebin, in November, Russia experienced a massive industrial collapse. Pumps down 38%, bearings down 37%, tractors negative 61%, bulldozers negative 53%, elevators negative 37%, internal combustion engines down 48%, cars down 34%, buses anywhere from 17 to 28% down, trucks down at 43%, car bodies negative 38%, trailers negative 33%, electric locomotives down at 24%, and railway cars down anywhere from 40 to 44%. So think about this again for a moment. The more that we talk about the state of the Russian economy, why is Vladimir Putin still continuing this invasion into Ukraine, just completely obliterating the Russian economy while at the same time making marginal gains inside of Ukraine? And in some areas, like we talk about with these counterattacks, the Russians are losing ground. And on top of that, losing massive amounts of troops trying to attack these areas. If you guys remember, I just had a story back on, what was it? It was on Wednesday, I believe. On Wednesday, just prior to Christmas, on Christmas Eve, we had a story of a group of Russian soldiers on the Eastern Front inside of Ukraine that were pleading to Vladimir Putin and the Russian generals to not send them into some of these areas of Ukraine that they know are complete fortresses held by the Ukrainian forces. They know they're going to lose their lives. They're going to go in. There's no way they're going to be able to attack these areas, and they're going to get wiped out. And we're seeing that across the front line, guys. I mean, I'm not going to say Russia's not making any gains. They are in certain areas. They're making some marginal gains, but overall, they're not moving as quickly as people might think. And obviously, 4 years down the road, look at how much territory they've taken inside of Ukraine. Probably not as much as Vladimir Putin expected. While on the back end, look at their economy just completely collapsing anywhere from 30 up to 60%, depending on certain industries there. Crazy news. Defense intelligence now. 2 Russian Tu-95 strategic bombers capable of carrying nuclear weapons conducted a flight over the Norwegian Sea this morning, prompting NATO and Royal Air Force jets to scramble. The aircraft did not enter UK or Norwegian airspace, but flew close enough to trigger a high alert. Calculated move that sends a clear signal to Europe on Christmas morning. Yeah, so we had Russian strategic bombers, Tu-95 MSs, heading towards the UK and very close to Norway as well. And I think the signal they were trying to send over to the UK is obviously, hey, we're not happy with what you guys are doing inside of Ukraine, and letting them know that, war could be coming in the future, sending this nuclear capable bomber right off the doorstep of the UK and Norway. And think about that, right on Christmas Day too. So obviously disrupting some of these NATO Air Force pilots that were, sitting on standby, at some of these air bases, forcing them have to leave from their positions and probably even enjoying some time on Christmas and having to go over here and intercept these bombers as Russia continues to carry out more provocation against NATO. So that was a crazy story yesterday. Now for Bliskovka, Ukrainian air defense forces shot down or suppressed 73 out of 99 UAVs. The enemy also attacked with 1 Iskander-M ballistic missile. Hits by ballistic missile and 26 strike UAVs were recorded at 16 locations. So yeah, as you can see here, 100 drones going into Ukraine, or close to that, 99, and then 1 missile, obviously. Then we've got 73 being shot down. But what was being reported overnight is a lot of these drones were really doing some heavy damage, especially up there in Kovel and down in the Odessa region. Lots of port infrastructure being attacked, energy sites, lots of critical infrastructure being destroyed by these drone attacks overnight by the Russians. But regardless, looks like they shot down a very good amount of those. Now, the Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of December 26, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. All right, so finally, it looks like whoever's controlling these little posts for the Kyiv Independent finally showed up to work, because it's been like 2-3 days in a row now they haven't had these out. So finally, it's starting to put them out again. So Russia's losses as of December 26, 840 troops, 3 AFVs, 180 vehicles and fuel tanks, 3 tanks, 74 artillery systems, 537 UAVs, 1 MLRS, and it looks like that is it. So nothing over here on this side today, but we did have a multiple launch rocket system being destroyed. 74 artillery systems, that's one of the largest numbers we've seen in a while. Typically we see about 30 to 40 on average, but recently we've been seeing more around like 15 to 20. 3 tanks, 3 AFVs, pretty low numbers here, but vehicles and fuel tanks almost at 200. Sitting at 180 So the Russia's still being wiped out quite a bit across the front line, and then troop losses back down to their normal numbers today. Right about 900 is typically what we see. But recently, over the last week on the run up to Christmas, we were seeing numbers at like 1,200, 1,400. So is that possibly due to Christmas yesterday? Maybe it is. Maybe the Russians were trying to enjoy themselves a little bit. That's why they weren't taking on so many losses, but still quite a bit there, 840 troops overnight. So guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in for today's update on December 26, 2025. Hope you all have a wonderful day out there today. Everybody take care and be safe. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.